The Africa Cup of Nations and Asian Cup both begin next week. Dozens of stars from the Premier League are travelling to participate. Mark, you've been having a look at how each team has been impacted. Run us through who is missing from the teams involved in the title race, first of all.
Yeah, two big tournaments to come, and very interesting and fascinating to see how this affects those teams pushing for the title, if it affects them at all. The bigger clubs have deeper squads, so can cope a little bit more. Here are the players that are missing from those sides currently challenging for the title. And Dave will actually appreciate this because Aston Villa very much in the mix for the title at the moment. And you can see that Liverpool will be affected because they've got two players going. Of course, Mo Salah, one of those. Aston Villa have one player going. Manchester City, none. Arsenal have a couple. And Tottenham will be affected as well. So when you talk about Liverpool, Wataru Endo is the other player that's going to be leaving for the Asian Cup. He'll be a big miss. He started Liverpool's last 8 games. Aston Villa have been quite lucky with injuries recently. They'll lose just the one player. Spurs could be most affected, and we know that Ange wants to be busy in this window as well. But losing Son and Salah, who signed a new contract this week, could very much affect their title chances. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the sides react and cope with losing some of their biggest stars. Or will this leave an opportunity for some of those players to jump into the boots and say, don't worry about him, I'm the main man now, and I'll get you the goals that you need?
Interesting. We see Mo Salah up there. I guess he's the headline name as far as absentees is concerned. What do the stats say? How much will Liverpool miss him, and what impact will that have?
Well, he just lights up Anfield. Every single time he gets the ball, everything he does, he looks so dangerous when he's driving at fullbacks, and there's nothing better than watching him in full flight in the Premier League. These are the games that he could miss. You have to remember as well that he was heavily involved in the latter stages the last time the Africa Cup of Nations happened, so he missed a good level of Liverpool games. Arsenal away, key fixture for Liverpool. Fulham at home in the EFL Cup. That will be another big match as well because they're getting closer to Wembley. Bournemouth away, that will be a challenge. Trust me, with the way that Andoni Iraola has got that Bournemouth side playing at the moment. Fulham away, the second leg of that semi-final in the EFL Cup. A potential 4th round FA Cup match. Then Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Burnley at home. Big games that Mo Salah is not going to be involved in for Liverpool. And that will be a big blow. But with the way they've been playing this season, you'd probably fancy them to continue that form, even though they'll miss their star man. The interesting thing, Rob, will be when he comes back to Liverpool, what happened after the last Africa Cup of Nations? He missed the key penalty, and his form afterwards wasn't as effective as before he went.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I think he only scored 8 goals in the remaining 25 games of the season, something like that. So his form really did dip. Whether that was the after effects of what happened in that penalty shootout or whether it was fatigue from doing it. If they were to go on and win AFCON, he might go and score 40 goals before the end of the season. Who knows? But what I did see up there was a big fat 0 by Manchester City, who won't be missing anybody. Add to that, they've got Kevin De Bruyne back doing his warm-up. He sounded like a rock and roll star when he was doing that warm-up at the stadium, didn't it? So this is just a double delight for City and Pep Guardiola, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant news. I think to be 5 points off Liverpool at the moment with that game in hand, considering that Kevin De Bruyne has only played 23 league minutes this season, considering that John Stones has only started 5 league games, considering that Erling Haaland has missed the last 4 league games, suggests that this is Man City's title to lose, or they're definitely the favourites for the back end of this season. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne made such a difference in the back end of last year. He got a goal and an assist in the semi-finals of the Champions League, 2 assists in the FA Cup final as well for those Ilkay Gundogan goals. So he's their key man and has been for a number of years. The question is, at 32 now and having picked up more and more sort of small injuries over the last few years, can he instantly get back to that top level? But he looked in great shape when he was warming up in that Sheffield United game at the side of the pitch. So it's great news for Man City fans.
And for the first time in his long career, he's got a new haircut as well. Which
looks good.
It does. It looks very good. How about the 2 North London clubs?
Yeah, I mean, Tottenham, I think, are most affected, really. You know, 3 starters are going to be missing for them in Sarr, Basuma and Son for the Asian Cup and AFCON. So, yeah, I think Tottenham are most affected. Arsenal, I think they can probably get by. But again, you know, as we've been pointing out earlier, they've got injuries and a lack of form in other areas of the pitch. So it might not necessarily be down to players that are missing for Arsenal, more the fact that they've not quite got the chemistry right. I think you know, Manchester City are ready to pounce, aren't they? They are ready to pounce. Game in hand, 5 points off the top. Other teams faltering a little bit. Just coming into the back end of the season when we know Manchester City always put a run together. They're ready. They're going to come for the title, aren't they? And I think it's up to everybody else to try and hang on.
I can feel a shudder going through the spine of everyone else as you say that. And a little whoop of joy from Manchester City fans. Mark, we've had a look at the title race here. What about the other end of the table? Who's most impacted here?
Yeah, well, obviously, not just the title race, teams are going to be affected. Those down the bottom are also going to be losing players. And when you look at Nottingham Forest, that's not what Nuno would want to see. 6 of his stars heading away over the course of the next few weeks for both of the 2 tournaments. Crystal Palace lose just the 1 player. Brentford also affected as well because they're going to lose 4 of their stars. Everton and Luton 1 each. Burnley don't have anyone to lose, so it's not a problem for Vincent Kompany. And Sheffield United have a couple of players as well. So, yeah, a number of players at the bottom in that relegation dogfight that will affect those sides. And it's quite interesting because the dynamic of that bottom 3 has suddenly shifted over the course of the last few weeks. You looked at it and thought, well, Burnley, Sheffield United, they look like they're down and out. There's no chance that they're going to survive. Luton as well. And suddenly they pick up some points and those teams just sitting above the bottom 3 start looking over their shoulder.
And are those teams Brentford, who are on a very uncharacteristic run of form, and Nottingham Forest as well, with the 6 absentees for them?
Yeah, I think particularly Brentford, to be honest. I think Nottingham Forest might be losing more players to the AFCON, but with Nuno having arrived and got those crucial wins against Newcastle and Man United, it feels like there's been a real lift there at the club, which I was quite surprised about, given that Steve Cooper was so adored by the fans there. But Brentford, they've already got huge injury issues. Tony's still not back, and Mbeumo is currently injured as well. And then at fullback areas, they've been having to play midfielders there because Hickey, Henry have been missing for so long now, and Christopher Ayer's out there as well. So Brentford, I think they've lost 8 of their last 9 games, if I'm not mistaken as well. This is a really terrible time to be losing 4 more players to the AFCON.
The good thing that Brentford have is Thomas Frank, one of the best pound for pound, I'd say, managers in the Premier League. He will find a way to get them out of it. He might change a few things, tweak a few things, but he will find a way because he's that good a manager. And Ivan Toney's coming back, which is going to be the golden ticket for Brentford this season, if they manage to keep hold of him, which I'm sure they'll be desperate to do towards the end of the season. But you're right, Brentford are in a real sticky situation, a sticky patch at the moment. And their injury list, like many teams in the Premier League, but Brentford's in particular, has been shocking. But the good thing is they've got Thomas Frank, and he will be able to turn things around, I'm sure.
Yeah, Burnley with none, Luton with 1, and a game in hand on Everton in there. Sheffield United with 2. So will they be licking their lips, perhaps, and looking upwards and thinking, ooh, hello?
I mean, potentially with some new signings in January as well. Burnley have obviously had some issues with Lyle Foster's mental health as well, and he took that well-needed break for him. Sheffield United are being linked to Jack Clarke of Sunderland as well. My team's best player as well. I'm really quite nervous about that, to be totally honest, and he's got another opportunity to show his skills in the FA Cup tie against Newcastle this weekend. So maybe Sheffield United and Burnley, if they sign some players that instantly hit the ground running in January, they can make it a little bit more competitive. But for me, I think Luton are the only side that have a pretty decent chance, or a fairly decent chance, of staying up.
OK, so we looked at the top, we looked at the bottom, but there's plenty of teams in those middle positions who are looking to either make a run at this now or could well slip into the mire further. So how are they impacted?
There'll be a number of sides just hovering around mid-table at the moment that will say, oh, we can get in the top 8 here, we can get in the top 7, we can challenge for Europe. How are they affected when it comes to losing players? Now, like Burnley, Newcastle have none. which will be very welcome for Eddie Howe, who's had a number of players missing because of injury this season. They've really been hit, so they are not going to lose anyone to the Africa Cup of Nations or the Asian Cup as well. But you can see Wolves, what an incredible job Gary O'Neill has done there. He's going to lose some big players, Hwang being one of them, Hubner, Aït-Nouri and Traoré as well. So that is going to have a big impact on Wolves and their incredible season so far. Obviously, Manchester United are going to lose 3. Onana will be one of those, as well as Sofian Amrabat. So those teams in and around mid-table are going to lose players as well. Everyone apart from Burnley and Newcastle is affected. And this is a tournament I cannot wait to see unfold. It's always exciting to watch the Africa Cup of Nations and the Asian Cup as well. And of course, as things develop, we'll keep you across everything right here on